You become like oxygen. Essential, yes, but invisible, unappreciated, and taken for granted, precisely because it is free. Not out of respect, but out of utility. If you are always available, always agreeable, always reachable, you are not valued. You are consumed. And consumption is the fate of everything that is free. When you position yourself as accessible at all hours, the inevitable outcome is not appreciation. It is normalization, then invisibility, then disposal. Because once your time, your loyalty, and your energy circulate without resistance, they stop being treated as assets. They become clearance items in the psychological marketplace of human interaction. Stop being free. He warned that a leader who appears too generous, too open, too familiar with everyone eventually becomes despised. Not hated, despised. Because excessive accessibility signals weakness. And in the logic of power, what is common is always replaceable. You were probably conditioned to be the reliable one, the understanding one, the one who gives more, tolerates more, and sacrifices more. You were sold a comforting lie. The more you give, the more you will receive. That is not strategy. That is herd morality, useful for maintaining order among followers, useless for building power among competitors. Reality is darker. If your presence feels unlimited, it will be treated the same way, not expensive for others, expensive for you. Because every time you overextend your time, overgive your attention, and over-tolerate behavior, you are spending your value without return. And unlike money spent, presence cannot be recovered. The greatest mistake of the overly available person is not kindness. It is uncontrolled distribution of self. You distribute your attention everywhere, your energy everywhere, your emotional availability everywhere, and slowly you become diluted. When everyone has equal access to you, no one feels privileged to have you. When your attention is given to all, it feels special to none. This is the silent collapse of personal significance, and this pattern slowly erodes internal authority, because how others treat you begins influencing how you see yourself. Emotional exhaustion. When you are always available, you become the emotional outlet for others. Their stress finds you. Their problems find you. Their frustrations find you. Because you never signal resistance. You listen when tired, respond when drained, show up when depleted. And the world accepts this as your natural role, not because they are malicious, but because you never established limits. Unlimited access invites unlimited demands, and demands grow where boundaries are absent. Machiavellian awareness recognizes a harsh truth. Obligation replaces choice, and where there is no choice, there is no power. But increased effort without scarcity lowers value further. This creates a psychological loop. You give more to be valued. They value less because you give more, and the cycle continues. Another cost is loss of anticipation. When someone rare enters a room, attention rises. When someone constant is always present, attention stabilizes, then declines. Anticipation is built through intervals, not constant exposure. If people hear from you constantly, your voice becomes routine. You do not need to declare that you value your time. You demonstrate it through pacing, not speeches. They go from always available to suddenly distant, from responsive to cold, from present to silent. And this triggers backlash, not respect. Because abrupt withdrawal feels like attitude, not value. Machiavellian discipline was never about dramatic shifts. It was about subtle recalibration. You do not slam doors. You quietly install filters. Reducing access is not an announcement. It is a behavioral adjustment. You do not say you are busy. You become structured. You do not explain your absence repeatedly. You normalize delayed engagement, reduce access, maintain composure. Not distance with attitude, distance with stability. No drama, no hostility, no explanations beyond necessity. Because excessive explanation signals guilt, and guilt weakens perceived authority. Replace emotional withdrawal with professional composure. Do not ignore people. Acknowledge, then respond on your terms. Not instantly, not reactively, but deliberately. This removes friction without creating resentment. People rarely react negatively to delayed access when your behavior remains respectful and consistent. They react negatively to unpredictability mixed with attitude. This signals competence with boundaries. And boundaries in professional environments increase perceived authority, not reduce it. You still have work responsibilities, family, social systems that require cooperation. So the objective is not withdrawal from life. It is elevation within it. Many people misunderstand value building. They assume they must become distant from everyone to be respected by anyone. This is a strategic error. Machiavellian intelligence never rejects systems. It operates inside them with control. You do not abandon your role. You refine how you show up in it. At work, being valuable does not mean being constantly available. It means being consistently reliable without being endlessly interruptible. The over-available worker becomes the default problem solver. The structured worker becomes the respected specialist. One is overused. The other is consulted. The difference is not effort. It is positioning. People should know your principles, not assume your constant access. When you engage fully during real moments instead of being half available at all times, your presence gains emotional weight. Quality replaces constant availability. You listen when it matters. You respond with clarity. You do not overextend yourself into exhaustion just to appear endlessly supportive. This creates respect without emotional coldness, because your presence feels chosen, not obligatory. In society, value is shaped by behavioral signals, not loud declarations, not self-promotion, but composure and consistency. You still attend events, still communicate, still participate, but you remove performative over-engagement. You do not speak to fill silence. You do not volunteer attention everywhere. You do not seek relevance in every interaction. This creates a subtle shift in perception. You appear grounded, self-directed, measured, because real value is not built by disappearing from life, but by participating in it with discipline, structure, and controlled distribution of your time, energy, and presence. Difficulty creates resistance. Structure creates respect. You still respond, but not impulsively. You still help, but not excessively. You still participate, but not compulsively. This keeps you integrated in systems without becoming psychologically cheap within them. Machiavellian practicality is about sustainable power, not theatrical detachment. If your value strategy disrupts your responsibilities, it is not strategy. It is escapism. True elevation is quiet. Your work quality remains high. Your communication remains composed. Your commitments remain honored. But your attention is no longer scattered everywhere. Over time, this produces a visible shift. At work, you are respected for focus. In family, you are valued for intentional presence. In society, you are perceived as composed rather than available. Silence, when controlled, creates psychological tension. They begin to value your engagement more. Most people misunderstand this. They think becoming valuable means becoming distant, cold, unreachable. That is not power. That is avoidance. True scarcity is controlled presence, not absence. You still engage, still fulfill responsibilities, still maintain relationships, but you remove automatic access. Instead of reacting instantly, you respond deliberately. Reactive individuals are predictable. Predictable individuals are easily read. Accessible emotions reduce perceived strength. Not through excuses, through structure. Delayed responses signal priority management, not disinterest. Measured availability signals purpose, not arrogance. When every message does not receive immediate attention, people subconsciously recognize limits. Limits create boundaries. Boundaries create value. Another layer of scarcity is selective agreement. Constant agreement lowers authority. This is why the person who is always certain to stay is rarely fought for. The one who is chosen and the one who is available. Most people think they are building importance by being constantly present in people's lives. In truth, they are positioning themselves as a convenience. Convenience is appreciated but never protected. The person everyone can reach anytime is rarely the person everyone fears losing. Because accessibility removes tension, and tension is what creates psychological weight. The dangerous shift happens quietly. First you become dependable, then predictable, then taken for granted, then strategically ignored. This is where true personal power emerges. Not from dominance but from non-compliance with casual treatment. Position determines perception. Perception determines treatment. If you position yourself as endlessly accommodating, you will be treated as endlessly adjustable. If you position yourself as emotionally self-contained, you will be treated with caution. And caution is a higher form of respect than comfort. Comfort allows people to be careless. Caution forces them to be deliberate, not because people suddenly changed, but because your accessibility changed their perception of your value. It fades through repetition. Not repetition of failure, but repetition of availability. When you are always present, always reachable, always agreeable, you slowly remove the psychological weight of your presence. At first, people appreciate it. Your consistency feels comforting. Your reliability feels admirable. But comfort is not the same as respect. Comfort makes people relax around you. Respect makes people regulate themselves around you. And when your presence becomes a constant, people stop treating it as something valuable. The human mind is economical. It assigns value based on scarcity, not sincerity. What is rare gains attention. What is abundant blends into the background. If you are always there, your presence becomes predictable. If you are predictable, you become psychologically safe to delay. There is also a hidden freedom in becoming expensive. If everyone can access you easily, you do not own your time. They do. It means your time cannot be endlessly consumed. Your attention cannot be casually demanded. Your presence cannot be assumed. It means there is a psychological cost to wasting your energy. When this cost exists, behavior changes immediately. People communicate more clearly. They respect your time more carefully. You are always being priced. And if you do not set the price of your presence, the world will set it for you. You must be willing to disappoint people, not out of cruelty, but out of clarity. You will reply later. You will say no sometimes. You will decline what drains you. You will withdraw from what disrespects you. And yes, some will call this arrogance. Others will call it coldness or detachment. In reality, it is recalibration. Because the version of you they preferred was the version that was endlessly available, endlessly accessible, endlessly accommodating.